Hello there. Today we're going to be making these really cute gnomes out of socks. These are great for any holiday, and these are my Halloween versions, so let's go ahead and get started. Hey guys! So I wanted to put my hands in the frame and wave them around like I just don't care. Alright, you're going to need a sock. Preferably a long one like this one. I would search your husband's sock drawer and just take all of his socks. Okay, so I prefer this because we can actually cut this and we'll have two pieces, the body and the hat from the one sock, which is great. If anything, if you have smaller socks to work with that aren't the ankle socks, then you can actually just use some other fabric and replace for the hat. The next thing you're going to need is a 2-pound bag of rice. You can choose rice, or you can actually use yellow split peas, which is what I used in my first one that I made. You can also use a bag of beans, whatever you want to use for the project, as long as it's 2 pounds. The next thing you're going to need is a long cup like this, scissors, yarn of your choice. This is going to be for the beard, so pick out a nice color. I picked out this creamy white. We're going to need hemp cord or twine or some type of string, hot glue. I'm going to be using my super bonder, beads or pom-poms, whatever you choose for the nose and the tip of the hat. I'm going to be using this black and white striped one for the hat. And then I'm going to use a larger sized, normal looking natural bead for the nose. Now that we have all of our supplies, let's get started. We're going to take our sock and cut it. We have to cut it at a very specific angle to get the hat shape. Now I'm going to be going from here to here. And I want this little black part where the heel is at. So I'm going to begin by cutting at an angle and go right into the heel. Just like this. That's how the sock should look. We can begin by taking the top part, which is the hat, turning it inside out, and we're going to hot glue the sides together. Alright, we're just going to put that to the side, let it dry. We can move on to the body of the gnome. So I think it's important to have this little section at the top where it's angled, so don't cut that off. I know it's tempting because it's hanging there, but trust me. So we are going to be filling up our cup with our bag of rice or beans or whatever we chose, and you can get a bag of rice for $1 at Dollar Tree. But if you have old rice on hand, might as well use it, especially if you're a crafter like me. You should oh, I just made a mess. I just made a mess. Stop what we're doing. And I suggest cleaning up as you go. Otherwise, you're going to have a big mess at the very end. So we might as well just start cleaning up right now. So after that, your cup should be filled with rice. And you'll grab the sock, put it on top of the cup like this, and flip it over. And basically dump the rice down into the sock. You want to give it a good shake. Make sure all the rice goes into the sock. Then you can just kind of lift it up and slam it onto the table a few times. This will help push the rice down to the bottom of the sock and let all the pieces settle down in there. So now we need to keep going and fill this thing up. Now, there is an alternative. If you guys don't like wasting food, like you don't want to waste rice or anything like that, we can use paper towel. You can also use the ads that you get in the mail. Any type of paper will work as well, or plastic bags. So something that we're just basically going to stuff this up. So the first gnome that I made, I went ahead and used a full bag of this yellow split peas, which I really prefer. This one I'm showing you guys, you can do it with paper towel and it works just the same. The paper towel version is a lot lighter than the other version because obviously it doesn't have a bunch of weighted down material in there, and this material we're using is very light. So that can actually be a good thing if you're going to be displaying this up on like a shelf or a mantle or something that might not be super secured to the wall. You don't want like a heavy object on it so the shelf doesn't fall off the wall. This is going to be a better option for you. If you're not worried about that, like it's pretty secured to the wall, then you can use the heavier option, which is filling up the sock completely with your rice or whatever you choose to use. And if you run out of paper towel, I suggest keeping the tube for future projects. You never know what you might use it for. So once this is completely stuffed full, we're then going to pinch the top of it together and grab it. Now you can either use a rubber band to hold this, or you can just tie a knot. It's that simple. I'm going to tie a knot because I don't want to waste, using a rubber band. And that's why I suggest leaving that longer piece on the top there. So how I'm going to do this is just by tying a simple knot right here. I make sure I take that black chunk and I push it through the hole of the knot so it ends out on being on the other side. Pull really tight, and then we have that little black piece kind of hanging outside of the knot. I'm then going to take it and do another knot around the black piece. And then I'll take the leftover, like that's hanging, and tie one more knot. All these knots will kind of not only hold this together like pretty secure, but it's gonna like create this shape that goes upwards, and that's gonna help hold our hat up, if you can see what I'm talking about. Alright, the majority of the body is pretty much done. Now we're gonna take our hat and flip it inside out, because it should be done drying by now. We use hot glue. Dries within like 15 seconds, but anyways, here's the tip of the hat. I'm just pulling that out. And we're going to be gluing that black and white striped bead on there. And by the way, I got the beads from Michael's on sale a while back. And then the bottom piece right here, like I just like to take it and tuck it in first. So I tuck it into the hat, I guess, because it's now a hat. Then I pull it out just a little bit, maybe about 1.5 inches of the black. Then we fold it outwards. And that creates our cute little gnome hat. Alright, we're going to be moving on and creating the beard. So I'm just taking some twine and I need to measure how far around. You can go all the way around to the back. I'm not going to because you're not even going to see the back and I think it's wasteful. So I'm going to go about halfway. So that's where it measures. We're going to move our gnome out of the way and we're going to just hot glue our twine straight onto our working surface. If you do not have a laminate table like I do, I recommend not hot gluing it to your table. But if it's like a shiny surface table, you should be able to glue it on there and the hot glue will peel right up. So once it's dry, I'm getting my yarn ready to actually glue onto this piece of twine. So I start by unraveling the 4 pieces, and then I'm going to just hot glue that down to the twine, like this. And then I'll just go ahead and cut the yarn. And then I'll just continue doing this all the way down the piece of twine. As I start to approach the center of the twine, I want to make sure that my strands of yarn are getting longer. And then as I go back up to the other side, they're going to be shorter. Almost creating like a V shape or a U shape. Now I'm going to start to untangle every single piece of yarn. And you have an option of leaving it just like this, untangle it and leave it. Or you can actually go a step further to create more hair-like features by pulling every individual strand apart, which is what I end up doing, and make it more like hair, basically. And you can use a cat brush, like a pet brush. I recommend not doing that and using your fingers for this because you have a little bit more control with your fingers versus the pet brush. The pet brush can actually just tear and rip your yarn apart, and you just won't have very good luck with it. So I recommend using your fingers. That way you're able to hold pieces down and just kind of like pull everything apart. So now that everything it was untangled, I'm taking every like individual strand and I just fluff it up by pulling it apart. And then I'll put my fingers in the middle somewhere and hold it down and then just like pull the ends to create a hair-like texture. As you can see, a lot has just ripped off. And you'll have a lot of pieces that are going to do that. As you pull it and pull it like that, see, a lot just comes right out, which is not that big of a deal. I end up reusing those pieces and just making the beard more full by twisting and gluing them back down. So I'll just kind of take my time and work on this. And again, you can use a pet brush if you want it to go faster, but it's not going to look as nice. You may end up pulling way too much out, so I recommend using your fingers. So with the pieces that keep pulling out, I'm just going to take them and spin them in my fingers like this, and that will kind of tangle all the pieces up together and create just a little piece of string that we can actually just glue that right onto our beard. So I'll just glue that right here on top of all of these, and that will just add right into it. I feel like there's really no wrong way about this. Just make sure you take your time on unraveling all these pieces though. Like I said, using that pet brush might not be the best option. This can be very tedious. Now, if you want, you can always go to Hobby Lobby or somewhere and buy faux fur fabric if that's going to be easier for you. But I was just using what I have on hand to create this beard. If you're noticing that your shape is off and it doesn't look like a triangle anymore, I do not recommend going in with the shears or scissors to trim anything. I would actually just pull the pieces apart with your fingers so you still have that texture of hair-like. You know what I'm saying? If you trim it with the scissors, you're going to see that bluntness, that cut. So don't use scissors. Now I'm going to be removing this from the table by just simply peeling the hot glue right off. Now we can attach it to our gnome. So I'm just picking out a side, like what side do I want to be the front and the back. I picked like a bad side to be the front because the hair is going to cover it up. Once you find a good spot, just go ahead and hot glue it down. I start with the center and then I work my way to the edges on either side. Once the glue has dried, then you can go in with your hat. And I'm putting the seam towards the back. Even though it kind of curves towards the front, it'll still look okay. So you want to make sure that you put the little center thing that with a bunch of knots directly in the center of the hat and then pull your hat down over it and straight over the string of hair, like the first maybe like half an inch of hair. If you notice that your hat keeps sliding off, you can actually remove it and glue that inside part of the sock down. That way it stops moving around. So just tack a little bit of glue on there and put it right back on, and there's no fuss. Alright guys, we're almost done with our really cute gnome. I'm just getting the hat in the place I want it to lay. So I kind of shift it towards the front a little bit. And then I'm getting the hairs down just so everything looks nice. Alright, so we're going to be gluing on the bead as the nose. So just take some hot glue, put it on there. I make sure that I wait just a couple seconds before putting it down. I don't want it to burn or anything, burn the fibers. I just kind of split a little bit and then I pop it down right on there. I'm going to hold this for 15 seconds and we're going to be good to go. Our gnome will be finished. I really hope you guys enjoyed this project. Let me know in the comments below if you try it out. And again, these can be for any holiday. These are my Halloween versions. And you guys can make some for Christmas. I think I'm going to.